Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Criterion of Action, Mizan al-Amal. And we have reached the parable of the soul and its warring faculties. بيان مثال النفس مع هذه القوى المتنازعة. The human soul in the body is like the ruler in his city or his kingdom. Its faculties and extremities which serve the body are like the artisans and workers. The intellective cogitative faculty is like his advisor and wise counselor. كالمشير الناصح والوزير العاقل. And probably the wazir is, we talk about a minister, we talk about the vizier, we talk about the almost like the executive branch of the government, since we talked about the governor. The appetitive faculty, shahwa, is like the unruly slave who brings him his meals. يجلب الميرة والطعام. Brings him his food, his meal, but also one might say that he brings him the food that is stored, usually al-mira, and sometimes it's food that you might travel to bring to your family. This is in the Quran, in the story of Sayyidina Yusuf, story of Joseph alayhi salam, and his brothers. We talk about the 12 brothers, children of Jacob, Yaqub alayhi salam. When they, upon their return from, at that time, did not know that Yusuf alayhi salam was the one who he knew them, he recognized them. They did not. Of course, he was a baby child, and his physiognomy changed, became a man, and now he is in office. He was like the Minister for National Economy today, something like that. So upon returning to where their family was, and it's very important to remember, the Quran says that they were Bedouin. جاء بكم من البدو, which is not a problem at all, simply because there are Bedouins, and today there are farmers until today. There are. So that's not the problem. The issue is why I'm stressing that the children of Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam were Bedouin. He was, because Bedouin do not build a civilization. They do not build cities. They dwell. They move from one place to the other, seeking literally greener pastures for their cattle and sources of water, depending on the season. And it means that the children of Yaqub alayhi salam, children of Israel, they did not build anything except erecting a tent here or a tent there, and ultimately they left the Holy Land. They left Palestine. So once they were back, they discovered that their own original goods were restored. They were given back to them, and also they found extra. And at that moment, they said to their father that they would like to go back to Egypt. وَنَمِيرُ أَهْلَنَا. Namir here is a verb, though for whatever reason people use it as a name for female girls in the Arab world. It's a verb. It's not a noun. So Namir. Namir is basically a verb, and Almira is the noun. So they wanted to bring food to sustain their families. There was a famine, and they did inform their brother. Did not, that they were facing hardship. So the appetite faculty is like the unruly slave who brings him his meals and his food. The irascible faculty is like the police chief. The slave who serves the meals is conniving, deceitful, foul, and duplicitous. He presents himself as an advisor, but conceals deadly poison in his advice. His want is to distract the counselor with disputes so that he never has a moment's peace from his bickering. So the slave who serves the meals is conniving, deceitful, foul, duplicitous. He presents himself as an advisor, but conceals deadly poison in his advice. He conceals deadly poison in his advice. The Arabic, the text that I have, the Dar al-Minhaj edition, وتحت نصه الداء العضال والشر الشمر. So, but he conceals, like beneath his advice, is deadly, but really the permanent ailment, disease, and very severe form of evil. Like the utmost evil, one might say. and his وديدنه منازعة الوزير في التدبير, and his methodology, his the repetitious, the ongoing bickering with the minister, with the counselor, with the minister, in his plans, in his policy, in his management, with disputes, so that he never has a moment's peace from his bickering. Suppose that when the ruler consults his counselor for advice regarding his administrative decisions, he ignores the suggestions of this wicked slave, and indeed takes his suggestions as guidance to do the opposite of what he advises. Suppose that he trains his chief of police well, and puts him under the command of his counselor, who gives him authority over this wicked slave and his followers and partisans, ensuring that the slave is the subject, not the ruler, and that he is commanded and directed rather than being the commander and director. This will ensure that the kingdom is upright and orderly, for equilibrium will be upheld. The same is true of the soul. When it seeks the help of the intellect and trains the zealous, irascible faculty and gives it authority over the appetite, and seeks the help of the intellect against both of them, sometimes lessening the intensity and power of irascibility by means of the appetite's charm and gradual appeal. Other times subduing and conquering the appetite by releasing irascibility and zeal against it, and tarnishing its dictates to subjugate it. If the soul does this, its faculties will be set in equilibrium, and its character will be made sound. The one who disdains to follow this method is as Allah describes. Have you seen him who takes his caprice as his God, and whom Allah has led astray knowingly? أفرأيت من اتخذ إلهه هواه وأضله الله على علم. This is why I think Bishr al-Hafi said that all our problems come from the hawa, all the solutions come from opposing it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said in the Quran, واتبع هواه فمثله كمثل الكلب. Of course, first of all, the translation, the meaning. He clung to the earth and followed his caprices. His likeness is that of a dog. فمثله كمثل الكلب. This example in the Quran, what does the dog do? The dog keeps panting whether there is um, a reason, like you talk about uh, an unknown person getting close to the place the dog is guarding, or not, the dog will continue panting. And it seems that the one who follows the his caprices is simply like that, will continue to pant in a sense. From running after the appetite, lust. The Prophet ﷺ said, your worst enemy is your soul that lies between your two sides. أعدى عدو لك نفسك التي بين جنبيك. The chain, the meaning is absolutely uh, I mean, it's not without truth, despite the fact that there is a problem with the chain of narrators. It is a weak tradition. You can take, you do know the enemy outside, but the enemy inside. And this is why some of those who know the tricks of the soul, they do ask themselves, they face their own self. What did I, what do, what was my aim by saying what I said deep inside, like an introspection, an ongoing dialogue or investigation or questioning or reprimanding the soul? You say something, why? Was it to show? Was to show off? They would even ask, why did I eat this? And in Imam Al-Ghazali will uh, soon, inshallah, within a couple of paragraphs, we'll reach some of these meanings. Why did I do? Why did I do? Why did I perform? What was my action for? What was my niyyah? What was my intention? In contrast, Allah says of those who conquer their caprice, but as for those who fear the station of their Lord and restrain the soul from caprice, the garden shall be their home. وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى. It is not, as some people think, a question of subduing the irascible faculty to the point of its total destruction, and likewise of the appetite. Rather, they must be controlled and trained. The intellect cannot perform the role of training without the help of irascible zeal. For the most it can do is point the way to what is right. It may be the noblest of the faculties and the reason why man became Allah's vicegerent on earth, but is only a doctor who shows where the cure is found. If it does not have the help of irascible zeal to coerce the appetite into obedience and service to the intellect through censure and taming, its direction will be to no avail. Intellect is of no use to the one who has no zeal. must be trained so that it is only aroused at the behest of the intellect. The same applies to the appetite. For to completely destroy it, for to completely destroys its desire for sex would not only be difficult, but would put an end to procreation, which is required for the continuation of the species. بقاء النوع. And if we just simply take this argument, and I think Imam Ghazali does elaborate on this elsewhere, apply it to the like the reason. There is a reason. There is appetite, there is pleasure, but if one tries to have this pleasure also in a way that puts an end to procreation, it's also a problem. It's a serious problem. And here I'm referring to homosexuality and the story of the people of Lot, the people of Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam, taking the argument to that extreme, the logical. If all humanity behaves in that way, this is the end of humanity. If all people remain heterosexual, hopefully they will also not only remain heterosexual, but they will restrict themselves to their spouses of the opposite sex within the institution of the family, as was known for as long as humanity existed, and not to be deceived by the last few years, where this institution of marriages includes also same-sex. Nothing remains prohibited practically. The unethical behavior. It's not popular now, but that does not mean that this is really not the right position to take. So Imam Ghazali says the same applies to the appetite. For to completely destroy its desire for sex would not only be difficult, but would put an end to procreation. Also, originally, even in the Catholic Church itself, marriage was still possible. There's no need for this celibacy. Ultimately, we talk about more than one issue, but if someone personally does not have a desire, that's a different story. Okay, but you don't make it a rule. But this is the one of the, and we know very well that the behavior of many of those the priests is very problematic, to say the least, and many cases became public. Likewise, to permanently still its desire for food would, aside from its difficulty, bring the individual's life to a close. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, rahimahullah, he said that one should not even diminish the amount of food to the degree where one becomes not capable of performing duties. يقيده عن أداء الواجبات. However, its rapacious desire for food may be broken so that its primary concern in eating is not gaining pleasure, but amassing strength to aid in the pursuit of knowledge and action. For such a person, eating is no different to feeding one's horse before setting out for battle. It is merely a means to an end, and he would be delighted if he could go without food entirely, but retain the strength to seek knowledge and action. Another parable: man in his creation is a cosmos to himself, vast in meaning but small in size, a microcosm. His body is like a city. His intellect like the king who rules it. His perceptive faculties of the outward and inward senses like soldiers. His body parts like subjects. The evil enjoining soul, which is the appetite and irascibility, is like an enemy who challenges him for his kingdom and works to destroy his subjects. Thus, his body is like a fortress, his soul like a resident within its walls. If he fights his enemy and captures and defeats him, as he must, he will be praised when he returns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As he says, Allah has preferred those who struggle with their possessions and their lives over those who sit at home by a degree. And to both Allah has promised what is most beautiful. فضل الله المجاهدين بأموالهم وأنفسهم على القاعدين درجة وكلا وعد الله الحسنى. If he squanders his fortress and his subjects, he will be condemned, and Allah will exact vengeance upon him when he meets him. A hadith tells us that Allah will say at the resurrection, O bad shepherd, you ate meat and drank milk, but you did not recover the lost nor mend the broken. Today I exact vengeance upon you. It has been mentioned, so the khabar is not a hadith. Malik bin Dinar said, I have read in some books, and then this statement is mentioned. But again, one should also remember, like the ethos in this statement, which is not a hadith, because al-khabar is not necessarily a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and there is no indication كما ورد في الخبر. والله أعلم. أكلت اللحم وشربت اللبن ولم تؤوي الضال ولم تجبر الكثير اليوم أنتقم منك. There was a very strange prayer. I became aware of it many years ago. Very strange prayer at the beginning of having a meal. You would bless you bless the food by mentioning the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, اللهم بارك لنا فيما رزقتنا وقنا عذاب النار, for example. Bismillah. The prayer included a statement, we eat so that others may eat. And it's kind of difficult to see the link, but at least now you are mentioning those who might not have a meal, and while you are eating, you are still tending in your own heart, you are planning, you are not forgetting that there are those without a meal. I have seen a footage of a man, middle aged, preparing some kind of soup in the Gaza Strip 3 days ago, about 3 days ago, 4 days ago. Doesn't make much difference. And there were children with pots, empty pots. And then this girl, Allah Alam, God knows how old she is, 6, 7, 8, but she was holding a pot. And this middle aged man started pouring from that soup. And it is heartbreaking. That soup is practically kind of like simply, it is practically water. It has some color, not coloring agent, not artificial color. It's only murky, okay? And there was nothing coming with the camera was very close, and you could see through the water, the soup. It's water. He was pouring for the girl. He filled her pot, but was water. Like there's nothing, no beans, no legumes, no vegetables, no meat, nothing but water. And as such, one should remember those who are broken. You provide shelter. I think you did not recover the lost, really. ولم تأوي الضالة. Probably it has that kind of meaning there, that you did not provide shelter for those who lost their path, or nor mend the broken. Al-Kasir, the one with the broken heart, the one. Yes. Mention of the struggle brings joy and nourishment to the spirit, and its realization through action is the true relinquishment of the spirit. Though none can know this, but the one who persuades himself to forego his appetites. Thus the companions said, of the Prophet ﷺ, radiallahu anhum, we have returned from the lesser struggle to the greater struggle, referring to armed struggle against the unbelievers as the lesser struggle. Okay. When asked, likewise the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, when asked which struggle is greatest, replied, to struggle against your caprice. He also said, the strong man is not the wrestler. Strong man is he who controls himself when he is angry. I'll start with the third one, the last one, because it is narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. Sound, the message is very clear. The strong man is one who controls his anger, does not act based on his anger, the whims, and we move up. Attributing this statement as a hadith to the Prophet ﷺ, about the greatest, the struggle, which struggle is greatest? He replied, to struggle against your caprice. Jihaduka hawak. This is a statement most probably mentioned by, is attributed to Al-Hasan al-Basri, not the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the very first one, and it's very famous, and it goes on. The meaning is absolutely right. I mean, in the sense of that, you have a very strong struggle against your own uh, self, against your own soul, against your own the greatest jihad. Now, the Imam Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar, he said that this statement is from the speech of Ibrahim bin Abi Abla. Ibrahim bin Abi Abla, they said he is from the remnants of the Tabi'een, the second generation Muslims. And I love some, some of the statements, but I love also how he is described in Sir A'lam al-Nubala, Shaykh Filastin. This is second generation Muslim. And there are many beautiful statements, that have been attributed to him. Another parable: the intellect is like a mounted hunter. The appetite is his horse, and the irascibility is his hound. If the horseman is skilled, his horse well trained, and his hound obedient and well taught, he is sure to catch his prey. If he is adult, his horse defiant, and his hound untamed, then his horse will not go where he directs it, nor will his hound obey his commands. He is more likely to fall to his death than catch his prey. And this is really the end of this um, the chapter, if you will, of Mizan Amal, of the criterion of action. But let me just simply say something about the horse not being defiant. It has been said that sometimes it could be simply our sins that cause the horse, to be, even a tamed, well-trained, obedient horse might sometimes become defiant because of our action. Wallah subhanahu wa ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. I think, inshallah, we will continue tomorrow with the levels of the soul and the struggle against caprice. بيان مراتب النفس مجاهدة الهوى والفرق بين إشارة الهوى وإشارة العقل. إن شاء الله. Until then, بإذن الله عز وجل، سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك، نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت، نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.